I'm John Bond. Welcome to Move Yourself Happy. Made for fitness enthusiasts who want to make their passion their profession. Are you unhappy in your present job? Are you passionate about health and fitness? Do you want to release your true potential? If the answer is yes, this podcast is for you. I will be teaching you the specific knowledge that every trainer and coach needs to be successful. So listen closely as I share my expertise with you. So just like me, you can love what you do. Right, Dean, good to see you again, mate. Long time no see, no speak.
Yeah, it's good to be back, mate. Really
yeah, apologise I'm using this. I did have two lovely mics that we could have just attached ourselves and the sound would be amazing. And I did charge them last night. This sounds like the kid coming up with excuses for, not doing their homework. But I put them on charge. For whatever reason, they're not charged, so don't know. So we're going to be using this. So if it's all right, I'll ask some questions. I'll hand you the mic and then... we always like a good chin wag anyway, so you can just go into one. So, big open question: what have you been getting up to since we last spoke?
I mean, that is a good question, John. So different things. Main thing I'd probably say is trying to figure out who I am. Still, is a big thing for me, which has been a challenge since I finished playing football. Obviously, did the fitness courses with yourself, which were fantastic and loved, which helped me set up my own personal platform, which I did during COVID and for a period after COVID.
Boom TV?
Yes, which is still active, but I'm not part of it now, so it's not continued. It's still there for if they want people to use it, but it's kind of stopped me taking part of it and creating more content. I've kind of moved away from that, but it was brilliant for me at the time in terms of giving me real focus and purpose and trying to understand myself a little bit more. That led me into going to one-on-one coaching football, which again I really enjoyed with younger kids, trying to pass on a bit of knowledge and a bit of experience that I've had, which I enjoyed, but that came to an end as well. Then I've been working back in football media. So I'm working for Southampton Football Club now, covering all those games, which I'm really enjoying. And I've just started my coaching badges for football to try and get back into the game, which I think is something that I'm meant to do. I think that's who I am. And through fear, if I'm totally honest, I haven't confronted that. I've had 1,000,001 excuses that I've put in the way of myself, but the more work I've done on myself, I keep coming back to that. No matter where I go to, I come back to that. So it's been an interesting journey to this point, and it will continue, I'm sure, and hopefully I'll keep evolving, if that's the word, or changing. But that's where I am at the moment. Still do a little bit in property here and there because I'm interested in that, and it's a different aspect to my life. So it's been an interesting couple of years.
Yeah, okay, thank you. There were so many questions that were firing into my head. I was thinking, asking this. One of the ones that sprang to mind straight away was, obviously we did some work when you qualified. We did some work together, putting this idea together where you got up every morning. You loved training, didn't you? So you loved sort of training from home. So it was like, why not get others to join you on that kind of that morning training session? Then the idea was you were aiming sort of at football fanatical dads. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So they would train with you, and then you were doing was it a Sunday kind of open chat? Would you chat to people and they could?
Yes. Yeah, I did that with Lewis Harrington.
I might have to get a bit closer with this.
Yeah, I did that with...
If you don't mind.
No, of course not. No, it was part of it. That's use the word again, which you used. That was the kind of platform evolving a little bit.
Yeah.
To get others more involved and probably just share what I was feeling and experiencing at the time, because I was completely lost at the time, and my saviour was exercise. I mean, I can't live without exercise now, because what it does for me, it gives me clarity. It allows me to allow all my feelings in the moment of exercise, and I think I get a lot of clarity from that, and I just wanted to share that and what I was feeling. And it was scary at times, because you're thinking, I've never done this before, coming from a football background where it's all, you close yourself off and you keep everything in, to then suddenly trying to share and express what I was actually feeling. And it was pretty welcomed, to be honest. And what I found out is that a majority of us are feeling the same.
Yeah, because that statistic that you told me about when footballers retire, I believe you said, was it 50% are either broke or divorced? Was that?
I think it's about 1 in 3. I think it's about 33% of, like, 3 years within finishing the game, they're either bankrupt or divorced.
Right. So I remember you telling me that, and I wasn't surprised.
No.
Just based on, I mean, I've always said that it must be really hard, and I think we talked about this, with every other job you do, you tend to finish your career at the top of your game, don't you? Whereas with your career, or any footballer's career, well, actually, we won't talk about yours specifically, but with a sporting career, there's a little bit of a decline, isn't there?
Yeah.
And then eventually you have to have that conversation that maybe this is the time for me to, hang up my boots or whatever, which, I completely empathise. I'm just like, wow, that's got to be a sad time.
It is sad, and it's hard at the time, because mine, I mean, if I talk about myself, was unexpected. I chose to make that decision, but I wasn't ready for it, and I wasn't expecting to make that decision. So when that happens, you're kind of thrown back into the real world. Your bubble bursts, that everything that's been going on since I was 16 years old, left school, finished playing at 34. So that's 18 years of just being told what to do, where to be, how to act, follow these rules. So no individual thinking, don't know who I am, don't know what I believe about life, don't really understand how I see the world. To them being released into the world is scary. It's really scary. But I was released into it with all the traits and habits of unable to share, unable to discuss how I'm feeling, don't have the tools to be able to do that. So I've got all these internal feelings without being able to allow myself to get some help. And there wasn't at the time, really, there wasn't other players sharing that or expressing that. This is how I felt, this is what you could do, this is who I talked to, this is how I was feeling. So you just feel it's you. So you feel isolated and lonely as well. And it's that competitive nature that you have during your career that's probably stopped me from opening up and trying to go, because I should have it all worked out. I should know what I'm going to do, because that's all I've ever done.
Yeah.
And now I don't. And where you start with that is I think is where it can really spiral out of control. And it did for me. You try and find distractions, and alcohol was a distraction for me.
Yeah, and we'll come to that in a sec if that's cool. But I remember. So when you were at Brighton and I was there, I remember the culture, and quite distinctively, and sort of thinking, I'm assuming this is just sort of typical football culture, and literally no one showed any form of weakness whatsoever.
No. It just wasn't. I think it's a little bit different now. Weakness, I'm not sure. Maybe weakness, maybe vulnerability.
Vulnerability is a better word. You're absolutely right.
I think nowadays there's a little bit more vulnerability, because that's where the world is, and it's supported.
Yeah.
When you were at Brighton, when I was at Brighton at younger, that wasn't allowed. That wasn't.
I mean, it was a lot of bravado. Would you say?
Yeah, it's like being in a school playground.
Yeah.
It's like being at school. You're all trying to find what your role is. You're all trying to find where you sit in the pecking order, and that's it. To come in and go, do you know what? I'm struggling. I'm feeling like this. I don't know what I'm going to do or what I should do. You'd be laughed at, ridiculed. So you felt as though, well, if I do that, it's just going to make it worse. So I'll happily just stay at this level, not try and make it better. I don't want to make it worse. So I'll just stay here.
Do you think that culture's changed?
It's a great question. No. Honestly, no. I think there's more willingness to share, but I don't know if the culture's changed.
No. It's going to take a long time, isn't it, for a culture to change in anything, I think.
I think so. It will take generations, because then you'll get different generations leading and they'll come up with different experiences and different ideas. Now you've kind of we're very good at suggesting that we're doing these things, but are we really doing them, or are we just ticking boxes?
Oh yeah, God, that's such a good point. It's like when someone has, a college or a school has that, zero tolerance to bullying.
Yeah,
it looks lovely on a poster, doesn't it?
It does.
But what does that actually mean?
That's it's exactly that. What does it mean, and what do I understand it to mean, and what does the individual understand it to mean? Because it could mean different things to different people.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on that. I'm not sure it's actually been implemented with care. So
it's basically once the old dinosaurs die out and then new breeds start coming through.
Well, maybe we'll see.
When I don't know if you met George Horlock. I don't know if he was teaching on the workshops that you're on. I don't think he was, but he's done some bits for Storm. He's been on the podcast a few times, and he's younger than me. Like, we're good mates, but he's actually closer to my son Jaden's age than he is mine, I think. But it's great because we have these chats, and he'll talk about like his perspective with the era that he's growing up in, and we were talking about anxiety. He overcame some really bad anxiety, and it's actually a great story of how we overcame it. But we talked about the differences between like my generation being able to talk about our feelings and just being a bit more authentic and open about that stuff versus the era that he's grown up in.
Yeah.
And I said, like, the intelligent part of me, my brain knows there's nothing wrong with me opening up and showing my vulnerabilities and even talking to my wife about certain stuff. But there's still something in me, I don't know if it's conditioning or what, that says, nah, you're supposed to be like the caveman, the provider. You don't do that. And I'm quite thankful that my son's growing up in an age where I think it will be all right for him to do that. Like, certainly all right with me, like he can do it with me, but I think even the expectation of him from society and his peers, I like to think will be different.
Well, I think the big difference is that he has you. So that's the difference. That sometimes you only need one person that you're able to open up to and be able to discuss how you're feeling. I don't think you need lots, personally. I think if you can find that individual, or maybe a couple, that you really feel as though you can find a safe and comfortable space where you can just be you, authentic. What am I feeling at the moment? I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I've got these dark thoughts, I'm happy, I want to celebrate. Whatever it is, that you can go and share that, and someone's going to be willing to listen to you and not tell you how it should be or what you should do, just listen. And if your son has that from you, that's brilliant. Because my parents are amazing people, amazing, done so much for me, and I'm so grateful to them. But they're from a different generation. So the traits they gave me, which were great as well, were pick yourself up and get on with it.
Yeah.
It's really helped me in certain aspects of my life. When you need to dig deep, they gave me that. But they didn't have the tools to be able to, because they were probably dealing with their own issues. They didn't have people to speak to. So if you've allowed yourself to open up and be vulnerable and speak to others, your son will see that. So you're an example to him, and then he'll be willing to do it to you, I think.
Yeah, well, I hope so. Yeah, thank you. That's nice feedback. But I wonder as well whether I feel like I'm on dodgy territory with this, what I'm about to say, but coming from like a man in his life as well, whether that has more, because the reason I say that is like my mum was very much open and would happily talk about her feelings. So I had that. But less so from my dad, and exactly the same. I've got no regrets, don't wish to have different parents or anything like that. They were brilliant, and exactly that kind of stiff upper lip, brush yourself down, crack on, that definitely has some strengths to that, and has helped me massively over the years. But if I feel, for me personally, I feel like you need certain male role models in your life to go first on that, don't you?
Yeah.
Before you go, I think it's okay if I do this.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think so. And that is just, what's the saying? Leading by example. I think that if I've kind of lost a little bit of faith in people's words in recent years, and it's more what they do. I trust their actions. So if your son is seeing you being vulnerable, having these conversations, I think that's the difference, rather than you saying, oh, you should be able to do that with me. You need to be able to do that. I don't like those two words, should, needs, things like that. That's a dictatorship. That's you're telling them. Where I think if he sees it, and even John, he may never come to you, but I think the feeling of knowing he could is the difference.
Yeah, that's really interesting. You're right. I need to stick on like Marley and Me or something and let him see me cry.
Well, that's up to you, mate.
You seen that film?
No, I haven't.
It's brutal. I did. That's in bits at the end. It was weird because I'm not even joking. So I was watching it with the family. Jaden wasn't there actually, but Samantha, my wife, and Lyra was there. And spoiler alert, if anyone's not watched this film, just everyone knows about Marley and Me.
Yeah.
You know what happens. Yeah. And I remember it happening to me and being like, what's going on? Never experienced this before. And Samantha turned around and went, honey, are you crying? And I was like, I had my hand here, and I was going, this is such a stupid film. Like, what's the point in this? And getting almost like a bit cross about it.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, so don't rush out to watch it. It's it does strange things to you, Dean. But no, you're absolutely right. Role modelling is so important, isn't it? One of my favourite poems. I can't recite it, but I'll send it to you. It's called "A Little Man Follows Me."
Okay.
It's all about role modelling. To be honest, it sums up exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
You can talk a good game all day long, but it's about what they see you doing on a day-to-day basis. And it resonated with me as a dad, but actually as a coach, as a trainer, as a teacher. I don't think whatever role you have, it would resonate with you, I think, with any individual. So you're on this this path. You're trying to work out a little bit of soul searching, trying to find out who you are, trying to fill the void of not playing football anymore.
Yeah.
Because going back to that, I can only imagine there cannot be many feelings better than walking out in a stadium with thousands of people, shouting out your name, sharing wearing the jersey. You got the camaraderie of the team that you're playing for. It's very meaningful, isn't it? It's such a.
I think that's the right word. It's meaningful. It's real. I think that's the feeling, because those times were filled with anxiety and fear, of course, as well. But excitement as well, and being able to do something that I loved, and being able to be me. I think that was what I missed, really, because when I played, I allowed myself to be me, whatever that was. Was that aggressive? Was that horrible? Was that kind? Whatever it was, I allowed myself to be that person on the pitch, and I haven't been able to replicate that feeling, that excitement of winning a game. Was that happiness? Was that relief? I'm not too sure yet. I'm still trying to work all that out. But yeah, being part of something, being part of a cause that you believed in, and that dictating your life, I love that. I love waking up every morning knowing what I was trying to do today. I get it wrong on many occasions, wouldn't perform, but I knew what I was trying to do. I had that real clarity of where I was in my life and what I was aiming for, and that gave me energy, which I loved. And I haven't quite been able to find that yet. You have different amazing feelings with your children, your family, and they're different, I think.
Yeah, they
really
are
different. They're unbelievable and they're incredible. I wouldn't change them for anything, and I've been very fortunate that I've been able to spend a lot of time with my children, but it's not the same, and I'm not judging either against each other or comparing them, but they're not the same. So that void that I had from football was difficult, really difficult, and I've not been able to replace that. And I think if I'm honest, there's an acceptance that I never will, and that gives me a little bit of peace, I think.
Now it does, yeah,
which I didn't. I was always trying to chase. I need that adrenaline, a bit like it's an addiction, really.
Yeah, it reminds me very much of there's a book I read fairly recently actually called Dopamine Nation, and I knew quite a bit about dopamine, and I understood a bit about some of the stuff I'd read. It's actually a book on addiction, which I didn't realise until I started reading it, because I'd recently been talking about dopamine for exercise, and that's this book, Dopamine Nation. This is going to be perfect. So it was so interesting, and it's talking about how, so like obviously when we have a coffee, dopamine levels go up by 50%. Sex, dopamine levels go up by 100%. And there's certain things that will elevate dopamine, and generally that's okay. Even playing your mobile phone elevates your dopamine. Yeah. So we get this feel-good feeling all the time. You walking out onto a pitch, people calling your name, scoring a goal for your team. I mean, I'd love to know what that is, what number that would be, but
wow, yeah.
I mean, it's probably going to be, so like, I'll get the drug right now, but heroin, but I think pretty much heroin is 1,000%.
Okay.
So you can see why that's so hard to come off. It makes me wonder whether the buzz from scoring a goal in front of thousands of screaming fans is close to that of heroin.
Scoring the goal, potentially. That's the biggest.
I mean, have you done heroin? Can you compare them? Can you compare the two?
No, unfortunately not. Or fortunately not.
Fortunately not.
Fortunately, I don't know which one that is. Scoring a goal, that's the biggest high.
It's got to be, isn't it?
I've experienced. Instant, I mean. There's other, winning promotions, winning things, playing, lifting trophies. They're huge highs. But that instant of the ball in the back of the net and the noise and the love you get. The love and the attention that we probably all crave. Being seen, you're seen in that, you're noticed, you're valued in that moment. It passes very quickly when reality hits and you go, we've still got a game to win or whatever. But that 10-15 seconds that you get is it's incredible.
I imagine it's a cocktail of happy hormones, because you'll definitely get dopamine. Serotonin is supposed to be associated with status. Okay. Well, you're definitely getting that elevated, aren't you? Just scored for your team in front of a lot of people that are watching, especially TV. The level you played at, you've got so you've got serotonin, you've got the dopamine, you've probably got the endorphins because you potentially sprinted and worked really bloody hard to score that goal, so you've got that circulating around your body. And then oxytocin's a love hormone, so you've got the crowd, you've got your fans, you're getting bundled by you got skin on skin.
Do you know what? Depends. Let's go even deeper with this. A last minute goal or a winning goal is, you can't beat.
Is there one particular one that stands in your mind?
Have I ever scored a last minute goal? I don't think I have. I've celebrated a last minute goal with people, and I think that's a similar feeling, because that's every emotion involved, because then you've been in moments where you're jumping in the crowd, so you're in there. It's not just celebrating with, you're in together, players in, coaches coming over.
I'm actually getting goosebumps.
It's incredible. You never want that to end. But it does.
Yeah. Oh, you'd be riding off that buzz. I'm actually getting, I'm generally getting goosebumps, kind of thinking about it and going back there. So if me reminiscing about a memory that I don't even have, someone else's memory. Yeah. What does that feel like to the person that's doing it? So, but I guess my point is, you're getting this cocktail of potent mood-boosting hormones relatively regularly.
Yeah.
Now you're not. Totally understandable that there might feel like there's a void. And I bet you've been I completely understand and relate. And I think anyone listening actually would, to where you say, obviously I get happy moments with my children, and you kind of always want to make that clear, don't you? It's not that I don't love my kids, it's not that my kids don't make me happy, of course they do, and my wife and everything, that's all, but it's different, it's not the same. And I think anyone with any kind of sense understands
I hope
that.
so.
Of course, yeah. Because it would literally be like saying to somebody, I don't want to compare you to an alcoholic or a heroin addict, but it'd be like saying, what's the matter with you? You know, you've got this family around you, you've got all this stuff going for you. Like, why would you not just be happy with that? Why do you need to drink? Well, obviously, it's not quite as straightforward as that, is it?
And I think that's half the battle, because that's what you do get. So you get that from others, and not from a bad place. They're not trying to shame you. They're just trying to share what they see. Like, you've got all of this that you should be grateful for. And again, should be grateful for, that you've got this to look forward to, and you sit there and you go, you're right, I do, but I don't feel it. And it's that, because then you feel, well, something wrong with me. What's wrong with me?
Yeah, that's horrible.
And you haven't got, again, when I finished, you didn't have people sharing. So you feel that loneliness, and that's all me. Something wrong with me, and no one else is feeling like this. Look, social media, there's another footballer, he's getting on with his life, look, he's cracking life, he's got it all worked out. And look at me, I'm falling apart.
And you also don't know what's going on inside their head.
No, of course, but that's what you see, because they're not willing to share that, and I'm not willing to share that I'm falling apart, so I'm showing no vulnerability, and I'm probably trying to show that I've got it all worked out. So it's just a spiral of everyone looking like they've got it all worked out, but everyone's just crumbling and struggling. Not everyone, some people I'm sure can, but a majority, a high percentage do.
It's weird that, isn't it, having to give off this, I don't know, where's that come from, this showing everybody you're doing all right. Is there an element of competitiveness to that?
I think so. I think it's ego, isn't it? It's pride.
Sorry, Dean, just checking on the camera there. That'd be a nightmare, wouldn't it? It was just the whole thing and it hasn't recorded it. Are you warm enough, by the way?
I am. Heat is lovely. Heat is lovely.
I don't get people on my sofa and deliberately ask that question so I can get close to them. But yeah, I have put the heating on, but I don't know if it's kicked in yet. Sorry, yes, carry on where you were, because we got interrupted because I thought the camera switched off.
I can't remember where I was there, but I just think it's, again, players, ex-professionals hiding injuries, illness, situations they've got going on in their life, all for that, so they can't show a weakness for a manager to leave them out, to drop them, to question them, because they want that chance to play. They want that chance to be able to score a goal, to be involved in that celebration.
Yeah.
So it is like that addiction, I suppose. I'm only probably putting that together now as I'm saying it, really. I'm sure there's lots of things that go with that. If I get selected by the manager, I feel valued as well. So I feel as though I've got a place within this group. I feel valued within this group. That probably brings me some strength within this group. If I don't play, I feel vulnerable. I feel less. So all these emotions are happening. I'm going off on a tangent now, but all these...
No, mate, this is good.
These emotions are happening while you're playing, without knowing. I'm not sitting there knowing this. I just either feel high or low. That's the basis of how I would feel. How are you? Oh, good. How are you? I'm okay, which means things are not so good. Yeah.
Do you know what? I relate it, or liken it as well to if you've been in the military all your life and you're part of exactly, well, like you said, you're told what to do, what time to do this, when to do that. You've got the support network, you've got the kind of multidisciplinary team that are contributing to everything you do, and you know, you've got that strong brotherhood as well with the military, which you would have had in football. And it, like with the military, obviously if they leave and then they have to filter back into society, into regular life, where you're in a home that is separate to the home next door. It's all very separate now, isn't it? It's not like we live in tribes anymore.
No.
And essentially you were part of a tribe, weren't you?
Yeah.
A close-knit tribe, same as someone in the military. You leave that tribe and then you're kind of going at it alone. You're no longer, again, like in the military, you're protecting your brothers, your drive. I mean, it's such a strong sense of purpose, isn't it? Keeping the person next to you alive. And with what you were doing, I mean, it's quite complex, isn't it? You think about all the levels to what you were doing with regards to your purpose, helping all your teammates, you know, helping the staff, the fans.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on there, isn't there? So all of a sudden going, all right, let's try and replace that now, shall we? So, mate, I'll totally see what So, well, all right, let's move on to what did you do to sort of, what have you done to try and fill that void?
Again, it's a great question. I pause because I think acceptance is the biggest thing now for me.
Yeah.
That may never come round, and that's okay. Like, so there was a long time when I finished. I shirts, medals, gone, garage, cobwebs, boots. Couldn't play football with my kids. Didn't want to watch football. Couldn't go to football stadiums. Football on the TV. Walk into another room. Just walk away. Couldn't face it at all. And they were signs to me at the time, on reflection, that obviously there was not something wrong with me, but I was not myself. So I dived into family life, which helped. I had some great time with the kids, but now I just try to really listen to other people. I try to connect with others and relate to others. I listen to lots of podcasts. I try and read. I'm not a great reader. I'm a terrible reader because I just can't concentrate for long periods of time. But I try to now, and just try to share as much as I can how I feel with others. And I think if you can show some vulnerability, other people will be vulnerable to you, and you can learn other things. It's taken a long time, this, by the way. This is not instant, and this is, I probably, if I'm honest, and I'm not just saying this because I'm here, when I did the courses with yourself and Storm, it was the first time I felt part of something again, because we were all online, but when we actually came into the gym and we met up and we were going through the things, I felt that again. I didn't know any of them. I knew yourself. I didn't know any of them. But that routine of coming in, that routine of being on time, that almost obligation to others to get there on time and try and kind of discuss what was going on and reach out and go, do you know what, I'm struggling with a little bit of this. What do you think? I would never have done that before. And then someone maybe comes to you and go, well, actually, I don't really know what this means. Have you got any ideas? Well, no, but should we go and try and work it out? That feeling that we had for a week, 2 weeks, started something in me again to think, okay, I've missed this. So, and just listening to myself, John, and trying to trust my instincts of what I was feeling and not just continue being told what I should feel like and what I should be doing and how lucky I am and whatever anyone was saying to me, actually pausing and thinking, well, do I agree with that? Do I actually think that? I'm allowed to have an opinion. I mean, that was a big thing for me, to allow myself to have an opinion, really. And I know it sounds stupid, really. I'm a grown man, I'm a 40-year-old man, but when you haven't had one previously, you've had an opinion in football in terms of meetings and stuff like that, but I mean on life, really. So, yeah, a lot of internal work, really, which has been, it's been painful, I'm not going to lie. Because it's just the truth, and when the truth hits you and you allow the truth in, it's brutal, if I'm honest, but good.
Yeah, the talking about how it's different, like, you know, your acceptance that potentially that void's not going to be filled, which, you know, on one side of it, oh, that's really sad, it's not going to get filmed, but then you can look at it is very subjective, isn't it? And you can look at it and go, well, you know, I had that experience, I've got those memories to reflect back on, what I've learned from it and everything. But I think that kind of acceptance is something that's important. Like when I've read books or watched documentaries about, you know, these Zen Buddhist monks and what have you, they obviously don't experience any of those big highs, and they never, you know, they don't drink, they don't get these big surges in dopamine or anything.
Yeah,
they're just very constant and very controlled, and yeah. So it's a different. Like you mentioned the word happiness, like you're not even sure that was happiness back then. I mean, it depends on someone's interpretation of happiness, but I think there's several metrics that you can use to measure happiness, and getting pleasurable experiences like what you were getting when you played football is probably just one of many aspects of the end game of happiness, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what we get from being parents and seeing our children grow up healthy and and their happiness, that's one of those metrics, isn't it? You know, that's one of the boxes that you tick and you feel good for. But yeah, mate, I can see how that would be so tough. And look, people always often, they look at people on the TV, don't they, go, oh, it's all right for them, you know, God, I'd love to have their life, and they don't think about what happens when that's no longer there anymore, and it doesn't last forever, does it?
But also that's true as well, because the life is good. It is. Like, I look back on now, and when you're involved in it, you don't realise that, because you're so I can only speak about me. When I had my football career, I was all in. That was it. I was all in. Nothing else mattered. I used to get abuse from my friends because I'd never be on my phone, I'd never reply, because just there was no interest. Of course I would, but it would take me days, and I'd miss calls and stuff like that. You know, I would, if I needed rest because I trained in the next day or a game, I'd miss things with the kids. You know, I'd miss birthdays, I'd miss Christmas. But at the time I was just like, no, this is my life, and I can't give you that, kids, but I'm giving you this. So I was just all in, and the life is good. So there is some truth in that. When people go, oh, I've got all this, and it is. There is something in that, but also what I think is the understanding that it's not all good. So it is good, but it's not all good, if that makes sense.
That does make sense, yeah. You've got to take the rough with the smooth, haven't you?
Yeah, I think, and that's like anything in life.
A lot of pressure. I'm sure it was you. It might have been something, you can correct me if it wasn't you, but I remember, you know, there was when at Brighton, when there was the talks of getting the new stadium.
Yep.
And I thought it was you, but I remember asking you, or if it was, you know, excited about the new stadium, and I think you said, well, if I'm still here, you know, and you said something along the lines of, my you know, your football career is only as long as your current contract, or something like that.
Yeah.
And you said something like, mine runs out wherever it was, and you know, if it gets renewed or whatever. And I remember being like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah. I mean, everyone's talking, because everyone was talking about the new stadium, you know, because I had a lot of Brighton friends that were fans.
Yeah.
And so they'd be like, you know, find out some information, all this, you know, like I'm some sort of spy for the Brighton fans. And you know, I would just hear nothing, because you guys are often the last to find out anyway on things, weren't you?
Yeah, I mean, at that stage when the club didn't have a stadium, didn't have a training ground, we were training at Sussex University.
Yeah, that's it.
They were just plans that I'd heard since the age of 15, really. But it is, I suppose, that pressure of, your contracts, your football career is as long as your contract. There's no guarantee someone else is going to want you. There's no guarantee to that. It's the likelihood that they probably will, but you don't know what that even looks like. What's the length of your next contract? What's the value of your next contract? What does that mean to your family life? Because, you know, you could have a 3-year contract on a certain amount of money, and you live to that, and that can include investments, that can include money that you put into your family home, your family life, etc. But that can all change in an instant. You know, if that contract's over, and suddenly you're on half the wages, on a 6-month contract, a year's contract at the other end of the country. Your family don't want to move. The kids are settled in school. There's lots of decisions to be made. That's not quite all that. On the TV, you see players getting 5-year deals on X amount of money. That does happen, and people do live that life. But that's not all footballers. And I think we all get tarnished with that same brush, that if people see you playing in League 2, for instance, which is a professional footballer, thinking, oh well, they're a footballer, they're earning this amount of money, and they've got this house, they've got this type of lifestyle, and that's just not true for everyone.
Do you remember Nicky Forster?
Yeah, no, Nicky.
So I remember when I was talking to him at the club once, and he was talking about retirement. And I said, oh, what are you going to do next? And he said, I think about doing a plumbing apprenticeship. It might have been plumbing or a sparky. And again, me being naive, was like, had a little moment. I was not expecting that answer. Like, wow, really? Okay, interesting. Which, yeah, that's not what people see when they don't.
No, and for some it is. For some it can be. So, but there is a yin and a yang to it. For some it can mean that you don't have to work again, and you've got everything set. If you can use your money wisely, if you've got good advice. I mean, we could have another conversation on that and what advice footballers get, etc., and what happens with that. But it's you've got a period of time. You leave school at 16. And then most players, the aim for me and my generation was to try to get to 35, because that was when you could get your PFA pension at the time. You can't do that now; it's all changed, and it was coming to that. I think my year was the last year you could do that. You have to wait till you're 55.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, it's all completely changed. So that was always the period of like, can I go for those 19 years, and what can I achieve in that, as in a football career? What can I achieve, and what can I earn really? And the first 10 years, you don't really think about it, what you're earning. It's just like, can I build a career? Can I enjoy football? What a life I'm living. I'm playing football every day, and I'm exercising every day, and I'm experiencing this every day. But then when you settle down and you have kids, and then you get a mortgage, and then 30 was a big time for me. You hit 30 and it kind of hit home, and you're like, okay,
yeah,
I'm going to need to do something else. But a good thing for me was I was always fit. A bad thing for me was I was always fit, because I never thought it was going to stop.
Right.
My aim was to always get to 40. And so from 35, 36, I'll start thinking about what I was going to do then. I finished at 34.
Right.
So I was 6 years from when I was thinking I was going to finish, and 2 years from even thinking about what I was going to do. And I made that decision to stop, which made it worse for me in the impact of what happened when I stopped playing. So yeah, it's such a difficult one, because I speak to people about this all the time, and they talk about plan Bs of preparing yourself when you're playing and for what you're going to do afterwards. And I do get that, and I think there's some real value in that. But also, if you're going to do something, if you're going to be a footballer and you're going to be the best footballer you possibly can, there's also an argument of you've just got to do that and forget everything else. So it's, what do you do?
Oh God!
So do you get distracted during your career of doing your badges and doing investments, and does that take you away from being the best possible player you could? Or do you go all in and do and gamble and go, I'm going to be the best player I can, nothing else matters, don't think about anything else, and it works out for you or doesn't work out for you? So I was one that was just all in. I was very simple.
Plan B's planning to fail.
Yeah, not even thinking in that.
No,
in that
but
depth.
you were just
I'm going to be a footballer, and it worked for me in terms of, I think I got the most out of I possibly could.
I would argue that to absolutely optimise your chances of being the best you can possibly be, I would argue that is correct.
I think that's probably my belief as well. But
there's an element of risk that comes with that.
Where does it
absolutely
leave you? And so where does it leave you?
Yeah. There's a huge element of risk there.
Yeah.
But that's yeah.
But then I sit there and go, well, why am I doing it if I'm not going to try and be the best I possibly can? So,
yeah. No, I understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah, mate. So I have elements of the plan B thing. It's probably how I was brought up, of, what if this and what if that, and I catastrophise a little bit, so I put things in place. I definitely think that has impacted me on certain elements where I could have been more successful. Like I'm fine, I'm happy, etc. But I think I probably value stability and security more, or I fear poverty. I fear being on my arse more than I enjoy being very successful. So that's why I probably have the plan B thing always in the back of my mind. But
it comes down to, John, I think you valuing what you think success is for you, not what others think, not what the world thinks, not what you should be doing or could do or what you're capable of. I think for me, it's understanding that, and you being at peace with that. What does success actually mean to me? How many people ask themselves that and actually pause and work out what they want? Because I didn't. Because if I'm totally honest, and as I'm sitting here now, I had everything and more than I ever wanted, but I didn't know that. So what I mean when I got to 30 was when I met a financial advisor, and who planted seeds in my mind that I needed to now invest heavy. I needed to now put money into this. I needed now to do this because I wasn't on the right route. Where if I sit back in reflection now, I was, because I was happy with it. Could I have done more with my money in his mind? Yeah, of course, to make more money. But what if I didn't need more money? But I didn't know this at the time.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what success meant to me. I didn't know what I wanted in life. I was just playing football. And that's all I was doing.
You're just enjoying the process, aren't you?
Yeah, but then when that seed was planted, I was like, it got me thinking, and thinking's dangerous.
What, like an anxiety almost, you know, like
what I started thinking instead of feeling. So I didn't feel what I wanted. I started thinking what I wanted.
Yeah.
So I was overthinking and confusing myself and coming up with all these scenarios and playing all those stories out we all do in our head of, oh, what if this happens, and what if I don't do that, and what's that going to mean, and where's that going to go, and what are we going to do, and what about the kids, and what about my wife, and what's she going to think, and what my family going to think. Oh, you're dead then. It's over.
Oh no, that's me, Dean.
But that's fine if you understand what you want, I think. And by the way, I've not got the answers to any of this. I'm just speaking out loud.
Yeah,
so I've not worked anything out. But what I mean is that I think if you can follow your instincts, and I think instincts are feelings, you can figure out what you want, and then you can incorporate that. And if I know what I want, then I can go to my wife and think, well, this is what I'm feeling, and this is how I see life. What do you think? But if I'm just sitting there going, well, we could do this and we could do that, and what about that, and what do you think? And
I end up going on a massive tangent here if I'm not careful. But when you were saying that, it made me think, I wonder whether once upon a time we were very much more intuitive and did everything based on feelings. But now we have, because we had limited information.
Yep.
But now we have so much information that we have to process that our brains kind of like filtering through it like filing cabinets, going, before that we have to make any. So the simplest decision, we overthink it, because we've got to go rifle through all the information that we've been gathering over the years from TV, internet, social media, all the people we reach out to. I mean, it's constant, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's tough. It's hard.
Kids growing up now, they reckon that a young person growing up today processes more information in a week than like I would have had to have processed in a year when I was that age.
Which is incredible and crazy when you think of it like that.
It's no wonder the sort of mental illness is on the rise, because it's just, I just don't think we've got it's probably like, when you back in the day when you had a computer that didn't have a very good processor and it would just crash if you got it to do anything more than sort of Microsoft Word or Excel, it would just be like, that's probably what's going on, isn't it? We're just not.
Probably, but like again, that is the world at the moment. So, but I think within that we all have choices.
Yeah, you can block it all out if you want to.
You don't have to go on social media. There's no rule saying you have to. Now, is it hard not to go on social media? Yeah. It really is. It's so hard for anyone, I think, because that's how life is. And you can get so much information, and you can get good stuff on there as well. It's not all bad. But you don't have to do that. You don't have to get married. You don't have to have kids. You don't have to have a mortgage. All these things that I wasn't aware of. I know it sounds silly.
No, I know what you mean. You just kind of conform or just follow the herd.
Yeah, well, that seems like a good. Oh, yeah, we could do that without going. Do I want to do that? Is that who I am?
By the way, just in case my wife's listening, I did want to get married, and I did want the children.
Yes,
I did.
Same.
I'm saying that.
I found out I did.
I still want them. I still want you. But no, I know exactly what you mean. You just sort of do stuff because that's what everyone else does. If you do ever have a moment where you challenge the status quo and you do something a bit different, there's a little bit where you're a bit like, I don't know, kind of like, I'm challenging the status quo here.
It's powering.
It sort of feels quite good, doesn't it? Yeah, you're doing something because you think you believe it is correct, rather than just what is expected.
Yeah,
feels nice. Man, this is God. We could go down so many little tangents on this. I love it, actually. I love all that. So take us back then. So you're obviously managing. You're learning to have a bit of acceptance over the fact that you're no longer playing football. You do your PT quals with us.
Yep.
We get to meet again. Loved the experience. Great meeting you again. And we did some work together, working on building your business. We had Boom TV on the go. You were like fanatical about your workouts in the morning and stuff like that. And then what's happened since then? What have you been up to?
Well, that stopped, like I mentioned at the beginning, because it served a purpose for me, John, and I'm so grateful for that experience. So grateful for everything I've mentioned. But I knew there was still a void. So even though I was getting, I was going to say I was getting better then, like I was sick, but maybe I was, but I felt more. I was reignited with something. There was still something missing. It still wasn't enough. I wasn't jumping out of bed in the morning for it. So I just continued to try and search for that. With obviously the added responsibilities I have of 3 children, supporting my family. So that's where the property side comes into it. That's probably how I earn my money. But I wanted to do something again with my life. And it's only, I would say, since September, really, is when I had a conversation with my wife when we were on holiday. She asked me some really good questions. She could sense that something wasn't still quite right. And then I just, again, it's been the most powerful thing for me and the scariest thing. I reached out again. I reached out to Adam Hinchwood at Worthing and just asked if I could come in and see if coaching was for me, if being around people again was for me. And he was great. Met me for a coffee, listened to me, I listened to him, and I've been coaching with the under-18s at Worthing ever since, and I feel alive again.
Like, that's great.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. I feel alive again. I'm not going to sit here and say it doesn't scare the life out of me. You know, having to stand up in front of people I'm not great at, but I'm willing to do, to put across my own ideas and own opinions. It brings huge anxiety up in me, but I'm willing to do it. And I think that's the difference, that whatever I do in life, John, I always feel as though I don't want to do it. As in, like, what are people going to think of me? Comparison, am I going to be judged? And am I going to embarrass myself? And that has stopped me doing a lot in my life. I feel all of that now with coaching, but it doesn't stop me. So there's a little sign there that goes, okay, I could be on the right road here, because I'm still feeling everything that's prevented me before, but it's not stopping me now.
Right.
So it's almost like, that's what I mean by that internal feeling, internal voice of like, okay, you could be onto something here.
Yeah.
So I'm just seeing, I'm step by step. Can I go into training next time? Yes. Can I turn up for a game next time? Can I have a conversation with that player next time? And we'll see. So that's where I'm at now.
It's like they talk about listening to your gut.
Yep.
Or feeling from your gut sort of thing. It sounds like that's kind of, you've got a bit more of that going on with this coaching role potentially.
I think it's you use the words authentic. I think that's who I am. I think I haven't, this is the closest I've got, so I don't think I can ever replicate those feelings of those last minute goals, etc. But when I'm coaching with the 18s at Worthing, and they're a great group, by the way, fantastic people, the coaches, fantastic people. The setup at Worthing is amazing. Like, what they're doing at that football club is incredible. It really is. And I've been around some big clubs and experienced people. It's brilliant. What Adam Hinchwood and the coaches and the people there are doing are great. I forgot what I was going to say now. But when I'm coaching with those players and I'm fully involved and I'm there, I'm present. And that's living.
Yeah.
There's nothing else going on in the world.
Doesn't matter, does it?
No, and I'll go this far. I'm not thinking about what the kids are doing or what my wife's doing or what I need to do later or what I haven't done or what I've got on tomorrow. I'm there. For that hour, I'm just there. There's nothing else in the world. And I think if you can live like that, if I can live like that, more and more. There's nothing else, I don't think.
I mean, that is spot on, isn't it? Because going back to the old Zen Buddhist monks, whatever you want to call them, that's exactly what they do, don't they? They're very present. They work on their mindfulness, and like if people like you or I go away and we work on mindfulness in itself, you know, we meditate and we do all that stuff. It's hard, isn't it? It's hard work.
Yeah.
But then you find something that, like what you're talking about, kind of reminds me of the flow state. You know, you're so immersed in what you're doing, time goes quickly, and you're not thinking about all these other things. You're not thinking about what's happening next, and you're not reflecting on the past. You're just doing it. And if you find something that does that to you, that's better than winning the lottery, isn't it? It's just nothing else really matters, does it?
I don't think so. You know, and I have them moments with my kids as well, and my wife at times as well, where you lose time. You have a conversation with someone and go, well, those 2 hours gone.
Yeah.
That's present for me. So, and I don't think you can practice that. I don't think you can intentionally do that. It just happens. And that's what I have with the coaching now. Look, this is not perfect. I have some bad days and dark days, and I still fall over and make mistakes, and then you come back quickly to, this is not for me, and those old voices, old habits, you're never going to work out what you're going to do, you've got no value to the world now, whatever. They're all still there, of course, because that's how I feel, and I'm not going to try and bury those anymore, because at times I feel like that. But I get more moments now of just being there. And I think my realisation is those feelings are always going to be with me, no matter what. And there's an acceptance to that. So previously, in years gone by, I was trying to get rid of those feelings. They're not going anywhere. They're always going to be with me. And I'm finding some peace with that. That's okay. That's what they're. And almost...
Not just you, by the way. I just like to add, I like... That's extremely normal feeling.
Yeah.
Like I would go so far as to say everyone... I can't be sure, of course, I'm not inside everyone's heads, but... Have you ever met anyone who never thinks about what next or whatever, or has any doubt about what they're doing in any way, shape or form? Like, it's just...
Well, not really. I mean, probably occasionally, but I'm not sure I believe them.
But that's true, yeah, exactly that. Yeah, because I keep talking about the Zen monks, but they work on that stuff every day.
Yeah.
You have to go and live in a monastery and do all that stuff. Like, there was a guy I listened to... I've read one of his books, Jay Shetty.
Yeah, I've heard Jay Shetty.
I'm not actually sorry if you're listening, Jay Shetty, but I'm not actually a massive fan. I think mainly because there was a few contradictions for me. But one of the things that was sort of disappointing was he talked about how he was in this monastery training as a monk, and they would do these spiritual practices and the meditations, and it was hours and hours and hours. And he said something about how sometimes the monks would fall out with one another, and they wouldn't talk to one another. And I was a bit like, oh God, there's no hope for us, is there? You guys are training this stuff all day, every day, and you guys can't do it. And anyway, he's sort of left, and he's taken his experiences, and now he's operating a business through that, which is fine. Don't knock him for that at all. But it made me. I suppose there was a pleasant awareness to it, because I was thinking, well, if I'm struggling sometimes to be content and think, I focus on what I've got. I focus on the wife, the kids, the nice home, my health. All these things you can just list, can't you? Yeah. All the things to be grateful for, and you're still going, yeah, but what about if I? Well, look, even these monks are doing that. So
yeah, of course.
So we can give ourselves a break. I think, cut ourselves some slack.
Well, I think be kind to ourselves, and it helps. I think it helps because then you don't feel lonely, because you understand that others are feeling like that, and I think that's where the vulnerability comes in, to be able to share that, because then you can connect with people, because they're waiting for someone to share how they're feeling, because they know they're feeling that way. And someone said to me once, it's almost like inviting them in for a cup of tea. Those feelings, and sitting them around the table and asking them, well, why are you here? Why are you scared? Why is anxiety here? Why is fear here? And almost including them in, going and having a conversation with them. I know this sounds really weird, but having a conversation with them, going, look, I'm grateful you're here, and I will need you at some point, but I don't need you today. So come with me, and there will be a time I need you, but not now, because I want to do this. But there will be times when those feelings are needed, and I think again it comes back to following those instincts to be able to go, okay, well, I need you today, because actually I don't want to do this today, and that's the truth as well. So I am going to turn around and go home, because I've had moments like that as well. So it's, for me, those feelings are who I am, and they're never going anywhere. So me trying to get rid of them, it's just a pointless journey. Just bring them with me.
Yeah, that's really good. That's so useful for anyone listening. Like that word you said earlier, acceptance. That's got to be like, if you're going to write a list of principles towards improving your mental health, that's got to be in there, isn't it? Acceptance.
Well, it just brings, I think for me, it brings peace. Because acceptance used to feel like a weak word. Oh, I'm accepting the situation, that means I'm not willing to do anything about it. I don't believe that anymore.
No.
It's accepting that, allowing it, but I still can do something about it. So I'm not fighting it. I'm accepting it, but I'm still going to maybe, I don't know what the word is, but continue trying to do something about this, but I'm accepting what the reality is.
Yeah, I do hear you with that, because you're still looking to progress your life in the multiple areas that your life consists of.
Yeah.
But you're also accepting that you can only control what you can control, I suppose, and some things are going to be as they are, and that's that, really.
Well, it's that. I quite like listening to, not all his stuff, but Jordan Peterson. I quite like Jordan Peterson, and he talks about that. In a much more articulate way than I'm going to say.
So articulate, isn't he?
But yeah, so he basically is saying that you're never not going to be scared, but the quest is to become braver.
Right, yeah, nice.
So it's like those feelings are never going to go anywhere, but can I become a little bit braver, more courageous, a little bit stronger? Can I work on that bit? Because that bit, there's no point in me working on that, it's not going anywhere, but can I work on that bit to become a little bit braver? So last time I didn't step into that, can I next time?
I like that, yeah, because they often say that with courage is not being scared.
No.
So if someone walks out and doesn't feel fear about anything, that's not being brave, that's not courageous. I used to be into like samurai warriors and things, and when I was years ago I did a bit of jiu-jitsu, so I kind of got into that and the Bushido code of conduct and things like that. And to them, courage is doing what is right, regardless, regardless of fear, consequence. It's just doing what is right, and I did like that. But that's what you say there of accepting that it's going to be scary, but just getting better at cracking on anyway with it,
Well, I hear him coaching now with play with no fear. And I'm like sitting there and go, well, how'd you do that then?
Yeah.
If you could explain to me how to do that, then I'll sit with you all day. But it's a big thing in football. You have it all around dressing rooms and stadiums, and it's play with no fear. And I'm like, it's just, we need to come away from that. How do we play with fear?
Yeah. Yeah, do you remember, mentioned this actually, when I was talking to George about anxiety, I read a book called Fear, Friend of Exceptional People.
Okay.
And it talks about Mike Tyson in there, about him always being so scared, and his trainer taught him to just channel it. And probably there's some accepting it's not going away. You're always going to have that fear, but just use it, embrace it, accept it, probably like you were saying. Scary all that, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and it is, John. But it's really interesting as well. I think what I've found it's exactly what you say. It's scary, but it is interesting.
There's growth there as well, isn't there? Whenever you feel that, when you feel that,
it's horrible. It's a horrible feeling.
Yeah,
and it's a physical feeling as well. I feel sick.
Yeah,
like physically feel sick, but it's like, who am I? And what am I trying to do? Well, if I'm trying to do that, and I believe this is who I am, then I need to do this.
Yeah.
I've used that word "need." I don't lie, but
I should. I
want to do this.
Yeah. I remember the first time I turned up to training with at the club. I mean, like I was confident in my knowledge because I loved it and I was passionate about the sports science side. So I was confident I could bring something to the table. But that many personalities, confident guys that are excelling in their sport, got that brotherhood, that community, and you obviously you know football, and it's like keep up or I don't know. It was quite a scary environment to walk into.
I'm smiling because it's brilliant, because that's the environment you think you're walking into. So confident, I'd say insecure. So it's completely the other way.
Yeah.
So, but I understand what you're feeling and what you're thinking you're walking into.
Oh,
but it's the opposite.
It was interesting.
Thinking everyone's confident. They've got it all worked out. They know everything. No.
But it was an interesting experience because I'm not really sure why, but for a period, my dream job was to work as a sports scientist for. It wasn't necessarily a football club actually. It was just a sports club. You know, I was into sport in general, so I thought being a sports scientist would be great. And like so many fantasies, they don't always live up to. And like some of you guys were great. Like you were great. I liked it. You had I got on quite well with one of the players you had on loan at the time. It was Australian, Paul somebody. I can't remember his name now, but he was
Paul Reed.
Reed, yeah, he was a really nice. Adam was really nice. And Adam Elab, I remember he was really nice. Kerry Mayo.
Yeah.
There's a funny story actually when you were talking about like your sort of. We didn't mention fame, but I was thinking fame in my head when you were talking about the lifestyle of the football and stuff. And I was going to say I had a tiny little splash of that myself when there was a Christmas do for the Albion staff, and we went to it was this pub in Brighton. I can't remember, on the seafront, and we're at the end of the bar. And I said to Malcolm Stewart, do you remember him?
Yeah, I remember Malcolm.
And I remember I said, "What are all those girls looking at over there?" Because there was a group of girls all sort of looking very, very nice and looking down at us, or looking at me actually, Dean, if I'm honest, mate. And I said, what are they doing? And Malcolm said, word's probably got out that there's a Brighton do here tonight, and they've come down to see the players. They think you're Kerry Mayo. I was like, oh, brilliant.
Did you play up to it?
No, I didn't, no. But my experience at the club anyway. But yeah, I wouldn't say I actually rose to the challenge as such. So I went in there and I did my thing, but I was quite kind of suffocated by the personalities.
Okay.
And for me, it was a great experience, and it probably, when I left and moved on and did other things, gave me more confidence to go on and do other stuff. But while I was actually there, I probably wasn't myself. I was quite quiet. I was quite shy. I just felt quite intimidated.
Yeah.
No one's unkind to me. I think. But I just felt it's just quite. You've got to be a very confident guy to walk into that environment.
It's so interesting because I obviously see it from both sides now, and I think it's the willingness to walk in. That shows confidence.
I'll be fine now.
Yeah,
because I'm older than them all for a start.
Yeah,
but back then I wouldn't have been.
Does that always help? That's a question. Does that, being older than someone, does that always help?
Yeah, for me it does, but I think that might be the way I've been brought up, because I was kind of brought up to respect my elders, and give people credit where's credit's due. So I'm going into a professional football club with guys getting paid more than potentially I ever would, maybe. I don't know. And like I say, credit where's credit's due. I'm like, I had the utmost respect for these guys. They're playing their favourite sport, getting paid well for it. Respect. So there was probably a little bit of that as well. And I had, like I said, I was a load of Brighton fans were friends, and every day I was kind of getting second-hand credit and praise just because I was going in and hanging out with you guys. So I remember getting a text from someone that I hadn't heard from for years, going, "Oh mate, you're working at Brighton now. That's awesome. Any chance you get some tickets to that?" I'm like, "Oh, well, here we go." I think
that's what it's like.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? But Look, Dean, there's still so much I'd like to talk to you about, but maybe talk some more another time if
cool. You need to, of course.
But it's been really interesting, and I love that we're a part of your journey and what you've been going on to do. And honestly, like you going and working at Worthing. I mean, I said this to Aaron as well, like because Aaron's talking about working on the strength and conditioning side and helping these guys, because there's some youngsters that go into gyms now, and they're doing their thing, but they actually don't know what they're doing. So he wants to kind of work with those, prevent them getting injured and sort of set them on the right path. But I can't think of more like important purpose than helping these young people in a potential career that they're going to be going into, and someone that's been there, done it. Like you're a great role model for a start, but you're going to be able to sort of talk to them about all the stuff that worked well for you, all the stuff that didn't work so well, and then like managing that stuff mentally along the way as well. Like you're perfect for that role, surely.
Well, I hope I can, John. I hope I can. I hope I'm willing to get out of my own way. That's the feelings, that fear, that can I continue to do that? I hope so. That's my aim. I'm sure there will be times where I won't, but that's the aim. If I can support those players and allow them to be who they are, that would be my biggest. I'd love to see that. Players going onto the pitch, being willing to express themselves and accept who they are, and not having to try and be someone they're not. I see that in so many players. Whether that's because of the instruction from the coach, whether they don't feel as though they can be, whether they're not willing to be, whether they don't understand who they are as a person, as a player. I think that can have a massive role on your career. Because I say it to the Worthing players all the time, and I mean this. There's not a lot of difference from where they're at to the professional players.
Right.
There's not a lot. There really isn't. Technically, in terms of what they do with the ball, there's not much difference from them and pro players. Now, can the pro players do it more consistently? Maybe. If they got more experience than them, maybe. If they've been brought up in a different environment, maybe. But with the people that are at Worthing, there's lots of players that have been around, people that have been around professional clubs that got experience that can pass on. So that would be my aim, to try and help in any way I possibly can, whatever that means, whether it's on the pitch, off the pitch, of players allowing themselves to be them and express them and accepting that. And if that's not for Worthing, no problem, but it might be for someone else. But it doesn't have to be for Worthing. Does that make sense?
Totally,
I played the role so many times to try and please where I was at, and gave away a lot of myself because of fear, thinking, well, if I don't do it here, I'm never going to get anywhere else. And that's not necessarily true. It's not. Maybe you just don't fit somewhere. But if you continue to be you, I believe that you will get where you're meant to be. So trying to support people in that way would be pretty good.
That'd be really good. We were talking before, I think before we started recording, about trying to find a USP with, someone starting a business or whatever, and how it's actually really difficult because, a lot of companies are all doing the same thing really. But the only kind of USP that you can truly bring is yourself, because nobody else has you. And although, I'm saying to you, you're going to be fantastic in the role because of the experience that you're bringing, you've been in their shoes. Yeah, we can argue that lots of people have. But I think probably one of your USPs is authenticity, isn't it? It's like being real. And
try to be, John. And I sometimes I'm not. I'm not going to sit here and say I am all the time, because sometimes I still hide. Sometimes I still don't allow myself to be that through, because of what's someone going to think if I say that? What if I do that? Maybe that's not what they want. But I hope to get better at that. So every time that I don't, then I'm pretty aware now.
Yeah.
My awareness is pretty good.
Talking about it now, so.
Yeah, so I'm quite good at reflecting. Now that brings frustration, it brings anger at times to me. Oh, why couldn't I be that? They needed me at that time to be honest and be authentic and say what I felt. Now that's not mean I've got all the answers, because what I say might be a load of BS, but it's what I believe. and they might disagree, but brilliant, that opens up a line of conversation. And when I'm not able to do that, it hurts me, because I know that's not me, and then I'm just being something else. I'm being a generic person that everyone else is. And you're saying the USP is yourself. Now, if I am who I am, that might not be for Worthing. They might go, do you know what, we don't do it this way, this is not what we do. Brilliant, no problem at all. But I believe I'll be able to find somewhere I can. Now, it might be for Worthing. They might go, brilliant, this is what I've been looking for. But I can only find that out by being who I am. And that's what I'm going to try and do. Now, I'm definitely not that all the time. But I've had moments. And those moments give you hope, I think. And I think, so progress. I think if you can work with progress without relying on the outcome, it has to be this way. I've got to get this. This has got to mean this. If I do this, this means this. I think that's tough.
Yeah, that's a lovely place to finish there. You can be your authentic self and not beating yourself up if sometimes you're not always your authentic self. Reflect back and just keep making progress. Dean, that was brilliant.
My pleasure, mate.
Thank you, mate. Love to do that again sometime. And we'll talk again soon.
Brilliant. Thank you, John.
Now, if you enjoyed today's episode, something you can do for me is subscribe to my show. And if you know anyone else that might be interested in this content, then please share it with them too. You can also head over to our socials and follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook and YouTube. But if you're ready to take that next step, visit our website, www.stormfitnessacademy.co.uk, fill out a contact form, that'll come straight to me. I will contact you shortly afterwards, and I look forward to speaking to you then.